Have you ever been trying to explain something you know inside and out, but the other person just isn't getting it? Or have you been on the other side, listening to an explanation that just makes you feel more confused? Well, what if I told you there's a recipe for that? Today, we're diving into a fascinating set of instructions that claims to have the secret formula for making any complex idea perfectly simple and clear. Let's see what we can learn. Right off the bat, this isn't some modest little suggestion. The source material we're looking at makes an incredibly bold promise. Get this, the goal isn't just to help someone understand a topic. Oh no, the goal is to literally transform even a novice or dummy student into an expert. That's a huge claim. So you have to wonder, what is this secret method they're talking about? So before we get into the practical steps, we've got to start with the foundation. The source lays out a core philosophy. Think of these as the essential ingredients that make the whole recipe work. It's not just about what you say, but the entire mindset you bring to the act of teaching itself. Okay, so this whole method really stands on three big pillars. First up, absolute clarity. That means there is zero room for confusion. Second is radical simplicity. And that means you have to assume the student is starting from scratch, from absolute zero. And third, and this one is so important, is unwavering patience. You're creating a space where it's okay to not know. It's a philosophy that puts the learner's experience above everything else, period. So how does that philosophy actually play out? Well, it translates into one key rule. You never, ever dump a mountain of information on someone. Instead, you break everything down. I mean, everything. Every single concept gets served up in a small, digestible, bite-sized piece. This way, you avoid that feeling of being overwhelmed, and you actually build confidence, one little step at a time. So you've broken things down into these nice small pieces. That's great. But how do you make them stick? How do you make them memorable? Aha! This is where things get really, really creative. The source reveals what is maybe its most powerful technique, using analogies to make these abstract ideas feel tangible and totally real. But here's the brilliant part. The source doesn't just say, use some examples. It insists that they have to be super specific and deeply relatable to the learner's own world. In this particular case, it specifies using Nigerian life as the bedrock for every single analogy. The universal principle here is just so powerful. It's about meeting people exactly where they are, in their world. So let's play this out. Imagine your goal is to explain something really abstract, like accounting principles or some biological process. What kind of everyday examples do you think the source suggests? Seriously, take a second. What would you use to make something like that make sense? The answer? You use yam plants. Not a textbook diagram, not a chart, but something you literally see growing in a local garden. It's totally unexpected, which makes it super memorable. And it's grounded in a specific real-world context. And it doesn't stop there. The source also suggests using goats. Yep, goats. Something tangible, something with a bit of character. You can see we're moving further and further away from dry, abstract theory, and that is exactly the point. And to top it all off, even mosquitoes. I mean, come on. It all just goes to show you the core idea. No example is too strange or too unacademic if it creates a memorable link for the learner. The goal here is connection, not convention. And here's a perfect example of how it all clicks together. How in the world do you explain the going concern accounting convention? The idea that a business is assumed to operate indefinitely. Well, you compare it with yam farmer. A farmer plants that tuber with full faith and expectation that it's going to sprout and grow for the foreseeable future, not just for today. And just like that, a complex, stuffy accounting rule feels intuitive. It just makes sense. Okay, so we've got the philosophy of simplicity and these incredibly creative tools like analogies. But how do you structure it all? How do you put it together in the right order? Well, lucky for us, the source provides a crystal clear step-by-step blueprint for crafting the perfect lesson. It's a logical flow designed to take any student from zero to total mastery. And here it is, that five-step journey. First, you start with a super simple definition. Then you isolate the key features. What are its essential parts? From there, you provide concrete examples showing it in action. Next, and this is key, you give them exercises so they can practice it themselves. And finally, the crucial last step, you connect it all back to its real world application in daily life. It's a complete cycle of learning from theory to practice. So there we have it. We've deconstructed the recipe, a philosophy of radical simplicity, the creative punch of relatable analogies, and a clear five-step structure. But look, this isn't just a kit for teachers. This is for anyone who needs to communicate an idea clearly, whether you're in marketing, in management, or even just trying to explain something to a friend. So now the focus shifts from just understanding this method to actually using it. And that really brings us to the final and most important question. This recipe isn't just for a specific time or place. It is a universal blueprint for clarity. So think about your world, your job, your passion, your hobby. What's one complex idea that you can make beautifully, wonderfully simple for someone else? What's your YAM plant going to be?